Welcome to Shaping a Greener Tomorrow, the podcast that dives into the challenges and opportunities shaping the future of the built environment within the UK. I'm Paul Terry, Managing Director at UPOWA and your host. We're here to uncover practical solutions, share success stories and offer insights to help navigate the evolving landscape of house building and construction within the UK. In today's episode, we're exploring one of the most important shifts in UK housing policy, the 2027 solar mandate under the Future Homes Standard, the pivotal role of the MCS Foundation in driving this change and what it means for house builders, homeowners and the wider supply chain. Joining me is David Cowdrey, Director of External Affairs at the MCS Foundation. David and the Foundation have been instrumental in championing solar in every new home, shaping policy while ensuring high standards, accountability and real benefits for consumers. David, it's fantastic to have you here at UPOWA for our podcast. Welcome.
Thank you.
So I suppose to kick things off, I would like to know, what is the MCS?
Well, I'll talk about the MCS Foundation and MCS as the company. So we're one and the same thing. So we were novated out of government in 2018. And so we've got the standard scheme, which the charitable foundation owns. So MCS Foundation owns the MCS company. We're the only shareholder. And so we have the profits from the company, from the standards, which are vital for the industry. But at the same time, that money is then used to help reinvest, to help promote decarbonisation of homes, heat and energy. Because we realise that if you just do the home, you've got to make sure the grid supply going into the home is right. And then obviously you've got to make sure that you're using clean power. So we take a helicopter view that really supports the industry.
Oh, superb. And I suppose the foundation, it's been a very powerful voice for renewable energy standards within the whole of the UK. Can you share how it's played in a role of influencing government's decision and mandate solar on new homes?
Yeah, so we identified the Future Home Standard as being one of these really key bits of legislation a long time ago, and it would be a pivotal driver. And it would dictate how all new homes are going to be built. Yeah. It would normalise renewables in the home if we could get renewables in the home. So we set our target very much on making sure that we could have heat pumps in homes, they wouldn't be connected to the gas grid, and they would have solar PV. And as we went through, we made sure that we worked across Parliament. We worked with the civil servants to make sure they were fully on board about what we were trying to do. Again, we were supporting organisations like the Future Homes Hub, but also we were looking at examples where good builders had been actually deploying solar PV on new build, because there was a huge expectation from the public every time they see a new housing estate go up. Why aren't there solar PV panels on the roof? And everybody's expecting to see it. And the fact that they lower the bills in your home, it's just an expectation. There was a survey done that was 75% of people expected new homes to have solar. And so we built this very much into our campaigning. So we did a whole raft of different actions. We wrote to MPs, ministers. We had one-to-one meetings with them. We then spoke with opposition parties. We looked at parliamentary questions that we would label and put down. And we built this huge groundswell of support. And eventually it led up to something called the Sunshine Bill, put forward by Max Wilkinson, MP. And Max was a really good supporter and really wanted to see solar mandated on new builds. And the government have agreed now to maximise solar on new builds. So that maximisation means there's no get out. If you've got skylights, if you've got dormers, you still have to put PV on the roof. Yeah. And you've got to have a meaningful amount that will generate the power for the house. So for us, we did a huge amount of work. And again, that was across industry, partner organisations, pulling everyone together and really working to develop new markets for the whole of the industry.
Yeah, amazing. I think that the pulling the whole thing together, like you say, I think it's really, I suppose it's supported it, but it's also given that confidence in what that's going to be as well, like a real good foundation of what the future's going to look like for future homes as well. So, collectively, everybody joining in that journey together is going to make the benefit, but also the understanding that we can deliver to those scales as well.
Yeah, and I think, for the building industry, it's the next step up. It's, we've been building homes. If you look at our history of home building in the UK, it's not been great in the past. When I go back to sort of the 1900s, I'm going into ancient history, by the way, here. So we have some of the worst housing stock in Europe. But new builds are getting better and better and better. And new builds are where you are looking at really ultra low homes, good insulation levels, and where you've got things like solar PV built into the roofs. You're actually generating the power for the home. And who wants a home with high bills?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Driving those bills down is so important for everybody, especially with the cost of living as well at the moment.
Yeah. And our electricity bills are some of the highest in Europe.
Yeah.
So anything you can do to reduce them by having solar PV. And as I said, the expectation is everybody wants to see a new home with solar PV.
Yeah.
And I think, the work that, organizations like UPOWA, other builders and the building sector as a whole, Thacum Homes, when you look at Octopus as well, you're looking at zero bill homes. All of these things are really important for the development of the sector, but also it's setting a pathway and it's going to become the norm. And when it becomes the norm, everybody's going to be thinking, well, why hasn't my home?
Why haven't I got it?
Yeah,
exactly.
Got it?
It goes the other way now, doesn't it? Absolutely. So for the MCS Foundation to push for this change, what does it mean for the UK's transition to net zero?
I think it means a huge amount because, our mission is to decarbonise homes. When you look at decarbonising a home, you go, well, a heat pump is critical to that. So you're not having a gas boiler. Again, you don't want new homes connected to the gas grid. And for a builder, it's one less service or trade on site. Yeah. Great. It's saving them cash, money, and dare I say, copper pipe work is very expensive. So when you look at sort of how you can actually transform a home, and it's the government's direction at the moment, and I would say governments in the UK as well. So in Scotland, you've got the Heat in Buildings Bill that's really driving that forward, and again with the Future Home Standard here. So for me, decarbonising of homes is vital. But if you have a heat pump, obviously you need to make sure you've got other technologies in tandem with it. So you've got solar PV going in, you've got battery storage. If you've got an EV, you want to make sure you've got EV charging. When you put the technology together, it works brilliantly. And that's why, seeing the Octopus on your shelf there, just reminds me of the fact that, the zero bill homes, which are being put forward at the moment, they're guaranteeing that for 10 years.
Correct.
Other house builders are doing the same now. They're all going, actually, this is a really good idea. Yeah. Consumers want a house with ultra low bills. Yeah. It's a massive outlay at the moment for homes. People are seeing, bills are around £3,000 in older homes. If you can move into a new home and get that down to a few £100s a year because of your technology, then great.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Obviously, the 2027 solar mandate and its significance for house building. So it's clear that the Foundation's work's been instrumental in driving the policy change. But let's take a step back and look at what it means for this sector. So the government's decision to include solar in every new home from 2027, that marks a real turning point in the industry.
Yep.
But why do you see that as such a landmark moment for the house building industry?
I think that the house building industry was going to be going to a different standard back in 2015. And again, that got dropped by that particular government. And so the building standards are normally every 5 to 10 years, you see them replaced. We're now a good 10 years on. Yeah. That the house building standards we have are outdated. We need higher insulation values in our homes to keep them warmer. We've got really good technology. So when you look at heat pumps, the cost of solar has come down. Yeah. You're getting integrated panels put into new build, which is great. Battery storage is fantastic as well and helps, again, reduce the running costs of your heat pump. You get fantastic time of use tariffs, so demand side response. That to me is great. Yeah. So you can actually either charge your battery when it's ultra low cost of electricity or free sometimes for an hour.
Yeah.
That is when you can really maximize it and then discharge it in the evening to run your heat pump. Yeah. That it's the integration of that technology. So for net zero, I think as a whole, the work that we're doing, it is absolutely critical in that journey and that message. But I mean, for MCS and the MCS Foundation, our delivery around that message of decarbonising homes, heat and energy, it's going to be delivering the 14% for domestic homes. Yeah. But when you look at commercial buildings as well, you're looking at 30% of our CO2 emissions. So as part of a mission-driven approach for us, it's vital. But also within that, building the skills in the industry, building the supply chains, really supporting it and helping deliver with practical steps. One of the ones we did was also reducing VAT and zero rating it. Yeah. We did a zero rating campaign. That, reduced between 5 to 20% off. So if you had a home that didn't have a battery in it, and you were going to put battery storage in with your solar PV, it was going to be 20% VAT on the battery. That now is zero rated. Yeah. So we're doing these types of campaigns which are making a really important difference in the industry.
Yeah, and all those metrics working together, it's just a huge advantage, isn't it? Now we're actually the work that you're doing, it really pushes and drives what this future's got to look like. But no, it's a real credit. So I suppose the next question is, what does this shift signal for house builders, the market, and consumers as we move towards net zero ready homes?
Yeah, well, I mean, for house builders, obviously, they're going to have to look at supply chains. And again, when you've got organizations like yourself, UPOWA, I mean, sort of, you're looking at, you've got fantastic supplies, you've got good stock, you're supporting the new build industry, you're supplying the services not only for things like solar PV, for battery storage, but again, so many others are. Those supply chains are in place. We've talked to Solar Energy UK, and they said, there's not a supply chain issue. There never has been. No. And it's making sure that we fuel that. It is there. When it comes to skills, we've got fantastic skills, but until you have policy certainty, people aren't going to retrain. And I think some of the mistakes that have been done in the past is we keep on pushing for skills first when there's no market. And if you like anybody, you learn a skill. If you don't use it, you forget it. Correct. It's really important that you've got a market and really good trade. So for the house builders, I think there is going to be a shift. There is going to be a change. Yeah. We're looking at modern methods of construction. So you're looking at new techniques on site to actually do modular builds, which is going to help. I think the technology is a mature technology. Solar's been around for a long time. Battery storage is just getting better and better and better. And again, with EV vehicles, without regulation, you wouldn't have seen the car manufacturers moving away from petrol and diesel to EVs. So that regulation, it's carrot and stick all the time. But for me as a consumer and what it means to the consumer market, if I had a choice of two new builds sitting in front of me, and one was no bills for 10 years or more, or ultra low bills because I'm buying the technology built in, or a home that I've got to retrofit, I'm going to go for the one with the cheap bills. So for me, those things are absolutely important for the consumer. And again, I think it's expected. Why would we build a home that's leaky? Exactly. That's going to cost a lot to heat. Comfort is what you expect from your heating appliance. And you want low energy bills. You want a home that's going to be built to really high standards. So there is going to be a shift and a change. But the minimal costs for the housing industry will be passed on to the consumer. But if it's about £3,000 or £5,000 for a home, if you're getting low bills, you're getting back in 2 years. With the savings you're making on your bills, it is just the most sensible way of building a new home. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that's where, as well with us as UPOWA, we've really put ourselves right in the middle of that. Being able to offer solar PV, battery storage, it's put us right at the heart of it. But ultimately, you mentioned there, and this is a reoccurring question that we keep on getting, you add into that the MMC side of this. So fabric first approach, building performance, working at its very best. And then we utilise the rest of that to give this comfort of a comfortable home. And one of the things that we had on an earlier podcast was, we're trying to, you said it there, if you own a home, if I'm going to go and look at two developments, one's got solar PV, a battery, an EV charger, the other one looks really, really lovely, but it hasn't got any of those technologies, we know exactly which one you're going to go for, especially as the consumer's starting to change. Because I think that's the other thing, the consumer's driving our market as well. You know, we want clean tech, we want clean environment, and we also know that we want to live in something that's sustainable for its future build. So next key theme for us, obviously standards and safety.
Yep.
Very important to us all. So ensuring quality, compliance and consumer protection as solar scales up is the topic. So with solar becoming a standard feature in every new home, maintaining quality and safety across that is imperative, really important. And it's something that the MCS Foundation has always championed. So for the MCS, what, you know, the certification guarantee, that's really important. And why is it more important now than ever as we become mainstream?
I think as the industry builds up, we've spent a lot of time. There was a time in the past where standards weren't as rigid.
Yeah.
The MCS scheme was created to create standards across the industry. It's been doing that for 20 years nearly. And I think people expect when they have equipment to be of a high quality standard. So there's certification bodies which are certifying the products. So they are then listed on the MCS site. So you know they've been through a really stringent and expensive certification process.
Yeah.
So you know it's a good quality product. So if you're putting in something like a heat pump, you know it's not going to fail after 5 years.
Yeah.
It's good quality. Then you're looking at things like solar PV and the advances in solar tech and the efficiency that's coming on. Again, they've been through that process. You know they're being installed by really well-trained, certified installers, where that certification of the installation then gives you that mark of quality. It also means you can participate in things like the smart export guarantee. So if you've got surplus energy, you can feed it back into the grid. I mean, you should be building these smart microgrids as you go forward. So I think, you know, it gives all people confidence in renewable technology, and that's what you want. In the same way that, you know, when you look at the older fossil fuel industry, there was that gas safe mark.
Yeah.
The gas safe mark was saying, actually, you've been through a certain amount of training, you know how to do your job, you know, it's going to go in. Again, for MCS is that quality standard mark that you have across the sector, which goes, this is giving you consumer confidence. You know, at the end of the day, that we're putting in really good quality products. There's also, as a scheme, there's enforcement and inspection that goes on. Right. So you know that you actually, the people doing the work are going to be scrutinized. And again, that gives you confidence. And if there are problems, they will get put right. So again, what's not to like about a scheme that actually protects the consumer? And that consumer protection is the heart of our new scheme. Is vital as we go forward. And I think it provides that reassurance across the board, not only to government schemes, but also to the consumer at the end of the day. You just want to know what you've got is great. It's good quality. If there's a product, you can always come back to MCS and we'll contact your installer.
It's great. And actually MCS for us, it's really driven a professional, safe practice that we put into every install that we do. In fact, to be fair, we've actually built our forms, our QC, our checking around what is required, not only from what we do as an installer, but the products that we use as well. So incumbently, it really ensures that we're giving best practice on every single install that we do across the UK. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah,
that's
good.
Great to hear.
And we lean a lot off you. We learn a lot off you. And I think together, those things are really important. What I worry about personally is that with our industry growing at the rapid rate that it is, and obviously Future Home Standards 2027 kicking in, we're going to have a lot more entrants into the market, which is great because it's going to be needed. We, you know, to support the growth of that is going to be really significant and a need for our developers. But there's also, we want to lead from the top in a way that we want to demonstrate that we're doing it absolutely right and for those to follow. Because the last thing that we want is anything to go wrong in the industry for it to flatten and damage the reputation of what these technologies are.
And that's why standards are so important. And again, the training program that you have here at UPOWA, it's great because you've got a training program where you've got on-site demonstrations and training techniques that you're doing. You've got, you know, classroom environments. But also green skills are vital across the whole of the building sector as we go forward. And again, in MCS, we've been supporting, and again, the MCS certification scheme, an apprenticeship scheme, the low carbon heating apprenticeship scheme. it's initiatives like that where you are helping training and getting training and good quality training and the recognition of that in the sector, keeping that professionalism all the way through. And the last thing we want to do is see the rush, as you say, of people coming into the market who don't have the skills, damaging the reputation that's been hard won and hard fought for. And that's why standards are so key across the board. So for me, I think, MCS is playing that vital role. It's a standard scheme, so it's setting the benchmark, but it's also developed and created by the industry for the industry. So you have these expert panels that are feeding in. Where standards are changing, the scheme will change accordingly. And those standards need to reflect the technology. We're technology agnostic. So again, we look across all new technologies coming in, which are low carbon, as you would expect. So for me, that MCS, that black square mark, is that mark of quality, that standard that needs to be observed as we go forward. And I would hate to see it not being included across the board when it comes to building new homes or retrofitting homes. Consumers need that confidence.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, it goes all the way through, I think. But you mentioned there the consistency. Consistency is key. If we're delivering a solution and a system that is repeatable across multiple sites, that system has to be compliant and it has to tick every single box. And I think that as an industry, that's where we need to lead with the likes of MCS to really position what the future of this means, because like I say, it's really important, but also it's repeatable and we've got to keep doing it. We've got to keep on top of it.
And I think that quality as well for the new house build trade is, you're producing something to a standard at the end of the day, which is then going to be sold and again gets the NHBC, tick box of installation. That those standards give complete confidence across the entire sector. So for me, I think it's brilliant the work that you're doing.
Yeah, that's great. It's good to hear. So David, the financial appeal of solar and integrated clean tech for homeowners and developers. So of course, beyond the regulatory side of ensuring quality, there's also a really strong financial story here. For both the homeowners and for the house builders delivering these new homes. So MCS Foundation research suggests that homeowners could save up to £1,300 per year with solar, battery and heat pump systems. How does this strengthen the financial appeal of clean energy for both house builders and buyers?
Well, for a buyer, I mean, I'll speak from personal experience. So, I have a heat pump in my house, but I mean, sort of, as a buyer going in, I'm looking at something that's got low bills, and if you're looking at how that works together, you think, if I've paid, say, £3,000 or £5,000, and I'm saving £1,300 a year, if it's three, that's, you're looking at just over 2.5 years payback period. If it's five, I'm looking at probably 4 years, possibly 5 at the most. And then after that, you're just going, not only have I recuperate the cost, I've got a higher value home. So when I sell my home as well, so it's got a huge amount of benefits there. And I think also you have to remember that there's a certain degree of social housing that will be included in these new developments that are also being built to the same high standards. So what you're doing is you're helping tackle fuel poverty. You're providing really good quality homes with low bills where people can afford to heat their home and be comfortable and buy food. So the impacts of this is going to be monumental as we go forward as a society. And I think, we need to realize the benefits for me as a consumer looking at a home, I'm going, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can see the benefits in my wallet each month. I can see the reduction in bills. And the beauty with solar as well, as you all know, is, you look at your meter, the amount of generation that's happening, and those of us that look, go, wow, that is really good. I'm doing very well today. And you can see the amount of difference it's physically making. And if you can store that energy in battery storage, that is also excellent news, because what you're doing is you're utilizing that integrated system. And again, you can discharge it in the evening, as I said, to run your heat pump, which is great. But also, I mean, you've got EV charging points. We're all moving to EVs or hybrid vehicles. Having those charging points integrated into the home, having that battery storage, so you're not using peak demand energy when it's really high price. That benefit is being put through the entire system. So for me, I mean, sort of, you know, when you look at different house builders which are integrating this technology now, you see it in action. And you can see the satisfaction rates. We did a satisfaction survey of people that have heat pumps, and obviously a lot of them have got solar PV, battery storage, etc. 95+%. I mean, that's satisfaction in your heating system. Whereas when you look at other fossil fuel alternatives, it's between the 80 and 85. So people are much more satisfied, much more pleased with the outcome.
Yeah.
But that reduction in cost is really making a difference.
Yeah, huge difference. Yeah. Thank you, Dave. That's great. So obviously the theme on this one is how integrated solar battery and EV systems maximise performance and consumer outcomes. So we've talked about the financial and the policy drivers. But to really deliver the benefits of clean energy, the technology has to work together as a one system. Yeah. Okay, so why is it important to optimise solar battery heat pumps and EV charging systems as a single integrated solution?
For me, I'm going to give you a very simplistic answer in relation to that. One, not only does it work, but it reduces your bills. But at the same time, if you've got a heat pump, and I'll talk about a retrofit example. I know it's more around new build today, but I mean, a retrofit example is if you've put in a heat pump, your electricity bill will go up because you are not running gas. Yeah. So everybody expects a bill to fall at that point. Yeah. Running a heat pump will not necessarily lower your bill. It will lower your bills overall because when you put the electricity and gas together. But when you add in things like solar PV, suddenly you're generating on-site electricity, which is then going into running and reducing the cost. When you have battery storage, you're then storing that energy for time of use. Yeah. You can also take advantage of things like time of use tariffs. So by the time you add all of these elements together, you know, as you said earlier, Paul, I mean, when you've got an integrated system that is working together, it's maximizing the savings that you can have for that home. Yeah. It's reducing your bills massively for that home. And by the time you put them together, that's when you really get that zero bills approach, or ultra low bills. Because obviously, depending on the heat loss calculations of your home. But I mean, sort of, you know, for me, that is nirvana, and that's what we should all be aiming for. And I would say with new build homes, and I know that battery storage is not necessarily mandatory. No. Or a requirement, but I would say if you're putting in a new home, trying to make these systems to work together, put in the wiring for battery ready. So if you are there, you're doing it from scratch. Yes, it's going to cost a bit extra to do it, but if it's battery ready, then surely as a house builder, you can offer your consumer, well, actually, it's battery ready. If you want a battery, we can just plug one in. Correct. And then that suddenly is an optional extra in the same way that your kitchen would be when you go in, or your bathroom. You're getting to choose from the catalogue of what you want in your home. Yeah. Surely additional technology like battery storage. So if you're not putting it into the home, have it battery ready, because then it's something optional that you can provide to your consumer. That is surely an added sales benefit. Yeah. So for me, the integrating of the systems is critical for maximizing the savings and the benefits, but optimizing the whole system. Yeah. And as a consumer, everybody's a little bit frightened about this. They keep on thinking it's new technology, which makes me smile. You know, that the first sort of compressor heat pump technology, if you like, although not in the way that we see heat pumps today, was 1857. Yeah. You know, we all have a heat pump in our home, you know, which is, you know, your fridge. Or in your car, your air conditioning unit. Mm-hmm. So if you look at every supermarket you visit and every small business estate, you will see the heat pumps on the wall. So this is all technology. But obviously, if you want to reduce the bills of running that heat pump, you need solar PV and battery storage. So build it into the home. Yeah.
And to be honest with you, David, we are seeing a lot more of that turn from a developer's point of view, of be like ready for solutions. I think being ready for any solution, but obviously with battery, like you say, it's the perfect addition to any homeowner as they move into that new property. You know, they go in, they go, oh, I'd like to upgrade my worktops, or I want my landscaping done, or I don't want curtains, I want roller shut blinds, and I also want a battery. And I think that's where we're going to get to. But now it's becoming more profile, and that sort of the high profile is growing and growing and growing. And also, as I said earlier, the consumer being wise to what they can actually get from the benefit. That's the big thing. It's that message to the market, isn't it?
Yeah, for me, house builders should be using this as a USP. Yeah. It's unique. It's ideal for you as a consumer to go to a consumer and go, these are the houses we build. If you build in this integrated technology, or at least have it factory ready, you can add in all the different elements that you want. But I was doing an interview at a different development, Thacum. Again, they're involved in the Octopus solutions. And again, I know that UPOWA have probably been involved in that very heavily as well.
Yes, we have.
But for me, that was great to go round and see a new development where people had moved in, where you have solar PV, battery storage, and heat pumps all working in tandem with an EV charger on the drive. And you're thinking, well, this is surely how all new homes should have been built. Yeah. We've lost 10 years in the industry of this, and we need to play catch up. So for me, I see this as a huge business opportunity for the sector. Yeah. I see it as a massive growth sector. I see it as a highly skilled and trained sector to go into that can meet the demand. I think it's a chance for the building industry to show what high quality, good technology can do in a home to have low bills, but also be a really great, comfortable space to live in. And that is really, it's coming together beautifully now. And I think with 250,000 to 300,000 homes under the government's targets in Westminster, we're seeing that real drive to build quality homes. And I think, the renewable sector should be at the heart of that.
And we're positioned quite uniquely there, David. So yes, all good. So obviously, as we say, as we combine all of these technologies, so how critical the smart commissioning will be and homeowner support to making sure that the systems perform effectively?
The beauty under MCS is you commission the system before you hand it over.
Correct.
Yeah. So for me, I love that because and some of the best systems are they're optimized for the house. So you've got a trained professional in the house as part of this that's doing the handover, that has set the system up to run to its maximum efficiency in that home, integrated with the different technologies. At that point, there are people that like to play with systems. If you left it alone, it would run brilliantly. But people like to experiment and play. And obviously, some of the danger of that is you can obviously run it to a less optimal efficiency. Yeah. But you can run it the way that you want. Right. Now, the beauty with some of these apps is fantastic. I do it with my heat pump because you're always trying to play, but it involves you being integrated. If you don't want to be, you don't have to be as a consumer. So it's non-frightening technology. It's like your boiler. It's on or off. Yeah. And with a heat pump, it's on most of the time because it is the most efficient. Yeah. And everybody has just got to get used to the fact what you have is an even temperature throughout your home. Yeah. And again, part of that is through having thermostatically controlled radiators as well. So under, dare I say, old-fashioned fossil fuel heating systems, you're getting one hot room where your thermostat is, and then you walk out into the and you freeze in the rest of the house, because you've got one more room and it just switches off once it's warm. With a heat pump and integrated technology, you're getting a warm, comfortable home. And I think that is transformational in the way that we go forward. But it relies on having good solar, battery storage, the whole package to be able to do that for the consumer, that it's about generating the power in your home. But also I love the fact that, with smart export guarantee, you can export that energy back out into the grid. And that relies on you being MCS, having an MCS certified installation. And if you can do that for the homeowner, you're going to benefit always with cheap bills and exporting energy.
The big thing that we see, we have a lot of customers. It's a reoccurring thing about people. Oh, I'm going to go and have a little play with that. I'm going to change this. I'm going to change that. And then all of a sudden, my system's not working. Yep. It's not working as effectively as what it was. Well, you should have left it alone. The expertise actually behind the scenes is really important as well. And again, it kind of forms that complete circular approach. It finishes the loop, that you've got not only the products that are being certified, warranted, and etc. being installed correctly, but then also the expertise under the roof that go, actually, we can help you here. It's just this.
I'm not a trained engineer to actually install a system. No. And as a consumer, I might play, but that expertise and advice in the sector is critical. And that's why we say standards are so important that underpin everything that we do. The training programs, the apprenticeship schemes that go in, the green skills sector as a whole that needs developing, it provides that credibility. And in the same way that when your current boiler engineer comes to your home to service it, they're the expert. I don't pretend to understand how my gas boiler works. I turn it on, it heats the water, great. A compressor I know a lot more about. But I mean, from the point of view that you have experts coming into your home and to have that consumer confidence in the expertise that they're MCS certified as follow-up is going to be critical as we go forward. So there needs to be more skills coming into the sector, but the market has to grow first.
It does.
And that future home standard is the first big step. And I think that the great success story in all of this is the solar industry. It no longer has grants and subsidies. It is now flying on its own feet.
Correct.
And it's now a hugely beneficial industry and sector. And you look at the number of jobs that are being well-paid jobs in the sector, highly skilled people which are trained to be able to install this great equipment that's been certified in your home is a fantastic success story. We should be supporting that industry and making sure it grows. And it's only by having certainty in regulation and policy that you can do the investment that you need as an industry to grow it.
Yeah. And again, this is another reoccurring thing. It's certainty, but also visibility. The visibility thing for, I think, anybody in this sector is imperative for what we do moving forward. We can't just turn something on like that. This is going to grow very quickly. So I think actually collectively as an industry, those things coming together, those mechanics to make this actually feasible, because we always said, again, is product an issue? Product's good if you've got visibility, you can procure well. But training and upskilling is probably one of the biggest challenges that we're going to see across this whole wide industry. And also, how do we get people into that industry? How do we make this attractive? Why don't I want to be on YouTube or TikTok? Why do I want to go into the renewable sector? And I suppose this is where we've got to work really closely together and having partners, and like yourselves, MCS, but also our house building clients as well. Collectively, we can really drive that forward. But I think it's a key thing to take away from anybody is that if we don't have that, we will fall short.
Yeah, that provides the certainty for the building sector, as you say. And again, for the house building industry as a sector, you want to know that start date. So you can start looking at your supply chains, your training, your trusted suppliers which are coming in to do it.
Okay, the next bit is educating homeowners and aligning system delivery with real world expectation. From an educational piece, why is educating homeowners on using and unlocking the benefits of their system considered the final mile for successful adoption?
It is. And I think there's always this wonderful thing. Again, I'm going to use a heat pump as an example, that people are so used to turning on their boiler at the moment and getting instantaneous heat. Oh, it's a bit cold, I'll turn it on and turn it off. A heat pump works very differently. A heat pump is a slow build and you're warming the fabric of the building. And again, we're seeing things like National Trust. I'm going to use that as a lovely example for this. So the National Trust, Grade 1 listed buildings, they are now I should say even higher than that. They're super protected. But I mean, sort of, you look at those buildings, they're now putting in heat pumps. And again, they're using solar, battery storage, many other bits and pieces that they're doing for those buildings. And what they've discovered is they're protecting the collections inside because they have an even temperature of the house in all the rooms. They're not doing hot and cold. They're not getting dew points on the collection. In fact, it's helping preserve the integrity of the property, which is ideal for a historic thing. So when people go, they don't work for older properties, there's always a heat pump solution for every property that goes out there. But, when you're educating consumers need to know it's a different type of heat, but it's a better and more comfortable heat. Everybody who's had a heat pump just goes, well, my whole house is comfortable. And you go, well, who doesn't want a comfortable home? I'm not going into those really ultra cold rooms because you've had heat loss calculations done on it. So there is a different way of living in the home, but I would say it's a much more comfortable way. It's a much more integrated way. And I think it will become the norm so quickly. You see how incentives can change across the whole of the sector. So like when they did a reduction in diesel years and years ago, everybody switched their fleets to diesel. Now we're seeing the benefits for EV. We've now got a zero rating of VAT. And that zero rating of VAT has been really helpful for the whole sector. That now, we want that We want to continue to 2030 at least,
exactly.
because the sector is growing. We're seeing huge upturns in the sector, and that's only going to get bigger. And it needs to be, if we were to hit our climate change committee targets, we need to actually work on that decarbonisation. But you can only do it with integrated systems effectively, I would say. That I did a gradual change in my house that I needed to do with retrofitting. But for homes, as you go forward, just get integrated systems. And if you can do that one-off investment and have it all working in harmony and in tandem together, most consumers don't touch, and you get a great system. If you want to play with it, you can. But I would say you have to remember it's integrated, that one impact on one system may have an impact on another. And if you're on a time of use tariff, you want to set it automatically to take benefit of that. So it charges your battery, it feeds into it, and then you're maximizing the use of a system. And then you're discharging in the evening when you've got peak prices. But it will all be done automatically. Once it's set up to work on the tariff that you've got, the price for electricity as it's coming in, you'll optimize that system in your home. So for a consumer, my approach to my system is don't touch it because it's great. And it's working really, really well. And it gets serviced once a year. And that's it. I switch off and don't worry about it.
That's great, isn't it? You're setting your own peace of mind then, aren't you? If you don't touch it, you've got a very, very sturdy thing that's working very well.
And once a year, I have a trained engineer that comes in, has a look and goes, brilliant, and does the servicing, and off he goes. And then I have that peace of mind as well. And I know I've got great quality installation, good quality equipment that's being serviced. And again, that's where the standards come in. When the service engineer comes in, you see the MCS mark on the van, they know it, they're going to do a good job. And you're going to get a great product at the end of it.
That's great. Good answer. Thank you. And then public opinion shows that around 3/4 of UK adults support solar on new homes. And how should house builders respond to the growing customer expectations?
They need to deliver the product. I would say, if I would describe the house building sector as a manufacturing sector, and if you're producing a product, you need to look at where the consumer interest is and match that interest if you want to maximize your sales. And if you want to get your manageable profits, etc. If you are building something that's desirable, people will want it. If you build something that's not, people aren't. So you've got to make sure that you're building to that standard. And yes, you will see some increased costs, but I'm sure the building industry, like all mature manufacturing industries, will pass on those costs to the consumer. And if I was looking at some of the cheapest homes you can buy in the UK, new homes, and I think it was in Wales for a 3-bed semi. I was looking at 3-bed semis. So, but it was around 249,000. If you're saying, well, it would add 3,000 to the cost of your build, you're going, well, if I'm a new buyer at 249,000, I'm paying, perhaps, 252,000. It's really not going to make much difference to your mortgage or you overall. But if you're buying a home with cheaper bills because you've got integrated solar PV, heat pumps, battery storage, you're going, well, actually, I'm doing very well.
I want to win.
And so for the consumer proposition, the integration of it, it just all goes hand in glove.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so coming on to our final topic, and so 2027 and beyond. Okay, so I suppose preparing the sector for the solar mandate, future mandates and scaling delivery. So we've covered the policy, we've ran through the standards and the customer. But if we can finish by looking at what's next for the sector as we move to 2027 and beyond, and what are the key messages you would give to house builders, policymakers, and the wider supply chain as a solar mandate comes into effect?
Wow. So looking to the future, I mean, 2027 is going to be the key date for introducing the Future Home Standard. The Future Home Standard is a standard which is improving house building, I would say, for 5 to 10 years. Technologies are changing. Things are going to get better. The industry is going to be learning more. More research is going to be coming out. We need to make sure that not only all homes are built like this, that even with the retrofitting sector, that the retrofitting sector is also doing that. And the point that you made earlier, the standards are vital for that consumer confidence in the scheme. I would say you just need that single standard to go forward to make sure at the end of the day that you've got that consumer confidence. They know they haven't got to go to A, B, C or D. They've got one recount. So if there's a problem, they know where to go to. I would also say that when looking at new homes, why wouldn't you include those optional extras like battery storage into a home? Under Part L, you have to put in, and the other parts of the building regs, you have to put in your EV chargers, you're maximizing solar, you're putting in a heat pump. You need to make sure the standards are part of that. It's the future home standard. Why not have standards built into it, full stop? So I would want to see greater consumer protection. Because at the moment, if you retrofit a home, it has to be MCS for government standards and grants. If you're doing new homes at the moment, it's not necessarily a requirement. I would say go for MCS. Because you've got the trained, certified installers like yourselves, like UPOWA, like many others, and other installers across the UK, which are MCS certified. You've got that good quality, well-trained workforce. Why not maximize it? Why not train it? Why not create the jobs which you want to do as a government? Get those well-trained people coming in. All new homes are going to be built to a really, really high standard. And to me, zero bills, that's the nirvana. To me, when I retire, I want a zero bill home. Because who doesn't? No. If I know I don't have to pay a fuel bill for 10 years, I've got holidays on that, lined up. It's going to be really good from that point of view. It provides extra ability within a household to deal with it. And as I said, the knock-on benefits around social housing are going to be enormous for training, reskilling, jobs, standards. Everything all comes together for a really well-respected industry as we go forward that is highly skilled, certified, and it provides that consumer confidence to everybody across the board. And for me, you can't get better than that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think actually my next question was like, do you think mandates will extend from solar into battery, into other technologies, clean tech as they come through? I think you've just perfectly answered that. This mandate's going to change. We've got future grown technologies that keep evolving. I think that's probably definitely the future for what we see. I mean, it'd be great if batteries are actually mandated for the future, because we see that as a big benefit.
Totally agree. And again, I would say, why not say battery ready? So it is the optional extra. So you've got everything there ready to go. So it's plug and play. Because as a house builder, we all know, we've sat in the showroom, you get offered your optional extras as you go through. What would you like, on your drive? What would you like in your kitchen? What would you like in your bathroom? What would you like with your door handles, your carpets? You're doing a shopping list as you go through. At least build your homes battery ready going forward. So it means you can actually put in the technology as a consumer. You don't want to have all of your new home ripped apart, or parts of it, to put in a new battery. If it's already done, already wired up and ready to go, the position's already been identified. Again, for the consumer, why not? It's not a huge amount extra to add on to your home. But what a great unique selling point.
How important is collaboration across our industry?
Absolutely vital. I mean, we at MCS work not only with manufacturers, installers, with associations from the Heat Pump Association to the Solar Energy UK, etc., with certification bodies, with the government. But not only that, we also, as MCS Foundation, have been supporting things like the Future Homes Hub, the UK Green Building Council. We've been looking at local area retrofit strategies that we do. We look at green skills. We also look at the research to actually look at potential alternatives, where people have been talking about hydrogen or biomethane. And again, they're not grid-based solutions really. And they're just perpetuating really an antiquated gas network. And so for me, collaboration and partnership working, we work on the Green Homes Group, run by E3G and others. You have so many different partners coming in. And again, with the installation industry, where we have representatives, we will work with those. You look across the board at everybody involved in the sector, and what everybody's doing is trying to make sure that we have good standards. And I think MCS is one of those flagship bearers that we have some of the best standards for the industry. We work across the entire building sector, from manufacturing right the way through to delivery and installation, to the training programs that go on around it. And surely we want the best standards in the world. Yeah. We want to make sure that we're a world leading organization in doing it. And I think the moment you start weakening standards, you're running down to the bottom. Yeah. You're going to get, terrible builds. You're going to destroy the industry. Yeah. Strong standards, which are enforceable, which have teeth at the end of the day, are what we need. And I think the building industry has not only embraced that, it's championing it. Yeah. And I think, organizations like yourself, which are certified and they go through the certification route, can see the real benefits. But not only that, because we're a charity-owned business as a certification scheme, that charity as the sole shareholder is investing it back in the sector. And you look at things, as I mentioned, the VAT being zero rated, huge impacts. Boiler upgrade scheme was going to be 2 years and 100 million. We lobbied with many others, I have to say, and partners to get it to 3 years, 450 million. We then lobbied with the Heat Pump Federation and got that up to 7,500. We were trying for 9, admittedly, but you don't get everything. But again, that got another 1.2 billion. For the sector, this is bringing in huge sums. Again, at the end of the day, we need to make sure that everything that we do is harmonious. With partnership working, it's a group voice and that collective voice together that has really added weight into all of those campaigns, and they have delivered for the sector. And for me, that as a foundation, if we are helping to decarbonise not only homes, heat and energy, but at the end of the day, working to support the sector and the industry to grow, evolve, create new markets for it, that's what we should be doing. Yeah. And that to me, I think, is when people go, sometimes, what do you do with the money? You can show actually the money is going straight back in to lobby on behalf of you, the business sector and the industry, to create bigger and better markets which people have confidence in. And I thoroughly enjoy doing that because it's transforming the way not we only build homes, but live in them.
Yeah. And the delivery of the homes. I think that's one of the key things. Like we find that with the foundation is that, as I said earlier, compliance critical, making sure that it's repeatable. We deliver the same standards on every property that we attend to. If you get that collectively across the board, then you're building a very, very good house that's very comfortable and ready for its future, that's safe. And I think that's probably one of the key elements, isn't it? So actually you pulling back into that, the collaboration of us all working together, it allows for us to only deliver best practice. So, David, my last question, which you'll probably be thankful of. If you could give one piece of advice to house builders, installers, and installers preparing for the solar mandate, what would it be and why?
Smorgasbord here. I'm gonna try and just one piece of advice. I would say if you could build a home with all the integrated technology into it in the first place, do it. Yeah. Put in the battery, put in the solar PV on the roof, maximize it as much as you can. Look at the orientation of your plots and your builds. Solar works on many different orientations. It doesn't just rely on a south-facing house. It doesn't work as efficiently. Most house building sites are clear felled. So you're really not having overshadowing of trees really and looking at that. So I would say if you're doing 2027, make sure it's battery ready because you're going to have a heat pump, which it's required under the standards, maximizing solar PV. Well, why not actually make it ready for batteries? And in the future, just put batteries in. Yeah. EV charging points are going in as well. What you're doing is creating a home that's so usable, so energy efficient. It's so appealing to consumers. I would say just go for the batteries. Get that one thing in there if you can, because it will really support. No, it just makes running a heat pump more efficient. It means rather than exporting your energy into the grid, you can store it on site and integrate it back and then use it to run your heat pump in the evening. it just is, it's rounding the circle. And that's why when you look at sort of, dare I say, the new build homes and the zero build homes, which are going up, they are such the way forward. Why not replicate it across the industry? So my plea would be, my nirvana wish at the end, my last question is there, if you do that and you build in all of those integrated technologies, and in the future, it might be things like heat batteries going into some homes, it could be part of a heat network, etc. You just need to manage for that. But at the same time, I just want to see really zero carbon homes which are run through renewable technologies, but the benefits, people aren't buying it because it's a zero carbon home. They're buying it because it's a warm, comfortable home with low bills. That's what you want.
David, that's been brilliant. Thank you so much for spending the time with us. And again, we love working in partnership with the MCS, a great body. And again, you'll keep us to our high standards as well, I'm sure, for the future.
Absolutely. And thank you for the interview.
Thanks, David. Thank you for watching and listening. This has been Shaping a Greener Tomorrow, brought to you by UPOWA. Subscribe now to Shaping a Greener Tomorrow on your favourite podcast platform. Tune in and join the conversation as we inspire change to help shape a more sustainable future for the built environment.